What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be going over a little bit of a different topic compared to what I usually do. And yeah, so it's going to be power rankings instead of my usual normal battling draft content. So yeah, I'll just be going through the teams in TADL Make It Rain division for VGC, right H. And yeah, it was a draft. I'm pretty sure we used the exact same doc as Wolfie's. So we have that as well as we except we had 120 points opposed to his 100. And yeah, we still could only have 10 mons, no more, no less. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first overall seed we have is Orange Fanta. And when I take a look at their team, it is very threatening in all departments. So obviously you immediately see the Annihilate Whimsicott combo with Tailwind beat up, being able to um, stack up Rage Fist boost, as well as if you would want to use something like Weakness Policy with Terra Psychic or anything of that sort if you want to try some weird tech a week. You have that open. You also have Defiant to be immune to Intimidate, and not immune to Intimidate, but you will get a double attack boost. So instead of being -1, you'll be +1 at that point. And if you get like Icy Winded or Electro Webbed, you also get a +2 attack boost. So that's nice for um like canceling out stat drops. Then obviously Whimsicott, a great prankster Pokemon. In my opinion, it is the best supporting Pokemon. Gets access to Tailwind, Encore, Fake Tears, not Tailwind, Light Screen, Taunt, Trick Room, anything you can think of. But anything that you can think of as Smeargle. And honestly, in this league, I think Smeargle isn't as good as it usually would be because Moody is banned in this, so it isn't able to like change its speed or baton pass anything. And it still has great utility, obviously, like Fake Out, Follow Me, Wide Guard, Haze, that type of stuff. There is also Magmar, which is one of the really good Follow Me users in Regulation H with Vital Spirit. So if, let's just say, a Moongus or Toadscruel is trying to use Spore, you can redirect it, and Vital Spirit means it is unable to fall asleep. Um, Alolan Executor, I think, is a bit of an interesting pick on this team. I think it I feel like it has some synergy because of Frisk obviously being able to find the opponent's items, which is great in a closed team sheet format, as well as Harvest being able to pair with something like Sunny Day Whimsicott, so you always get your berry back. And it gets Trick Room. It has a very respectable special attack at 125. And yeah. And Volbeat, though, honestly, on this team, Volbeat confuses me a little bit because you already have Whimsicott, which is amazing. I think the only reason you'd ever want Volbeat here is for what's called for like Thunder Wave, or if you want to use Rain Dance a week. But like, I don't feel like Volbeat is super impactful on this team. Toxtricity, I definitely feel like can work very well on this team. Obviously, Punk Rock being able to use like Overdrive and damaging opponents. So that's going to be really nice hitting both opponents. And Discharge if you want, pairing it next to Rhydon with Lightning Rod and Terra Water, so then you only have one weakness to Grass. You also have Boom Burst, being able to pair greatly next to Poltergeist or Annihilate, both being immune to it. But yeah, I feel like Toxtricity is one of the better synergies on this team. There's also Rhydon, which is amazing paired with Gyarados here, since it makes Gyarados no longer weak to electric moves, so it only has one weakness to rock. and Intimidate from Gyarados is able to lower the physical attack of Pokemon. And majority of rock types are physical attackers, so that will be a nice combo piece. As well as Ryan has completely respectable attack stat at 130, actually being the highest on the entire team over Annihilape and Gyarados. Um, yeah, with Eviolite, it's super bulky. It won I believe it won a regional in Regai as a Miraidon counter, but yeah. And then we have Gyarados obviously being able to set up with Dragon Dance if it wants with Moxie, or it gets a surprising amount of utility moves with like Taunt or Thunderwave. Um, with Intimidate also being able to lower physical attackers. And Poltergeist, I think, is a nice slot on this team because it gives you some more redirection if you don't want to bring out Magmar here. And it gets the ability Hospitality, so when you switch it in, it heals up your partner. As well as Heat Proof if you would want to ever use that 1 week. So I think this team as a whole synergizes really well together. It has great Trick Room and Tailwind modes. I will say though, one of the weaknesses I am seeing is there are 3 Pokemon wanting to fight for Eviolite. So we have Magmar, Rhydon, and Poltergeist, and none of them outside of maybe Rhydon can function without it. So I can see that being a problem here. Um, I again think Whimsicott and Volbeat may be a bit redundant just because they do very similar things. And yeah, other than that, I feel like the team is very solid. They're the one other thing I would probably say is speed tiers are a little bit lacking. Jumping from 116 is your fastest to 93 is your second fastest isn't necessarily what you really want, but it's not horrible considering it is Reg I, so I mean Reg H, so speed tiers can't always fill out where you want them to be, so not a huge deal there. Wide Guard and Haze not having any natural Wide Guard and Haze not having anything naturally learn those is a bit of a problem, I do think, because obviously you might want Earthquake for Rhydon next to your partner. You also probably want Haze, as there is a little bit of spoiler, but there is a person who drafted Dozogiri. Um, Fake Out, another thing. I don't love that there isn't a Fake Out Pokemon. I will say though, I'm a little bit more fine with this since Smeargle often does use Fake Out, so that is not a huge deal. But yeah, I do think here we will place Munching Mawwiles at probably the top of A, because there is there's a large amount of good tools on the team. However, there are a few things that you're also able to take advantage of. So yeah, I think that'll be it. And yeah, we will get into our next team. So here we are. Here we have Magic's team. I think this team looks very well. Um, so yeah, I'll just get right into it. So we're gonna start off with Dozogiri, which is an amazing combo, as everybody knows. Um, Being able to combine doubling Dondozo's stats is great, paired with the ability Unaware, being able to ignore other Pokemon stat changes, or Oblivious being unable to be taunted or intimidated. Um, Tatsugiri is, I would assume, mostly going to run Commander, being paired with Dondozo. However, on this team, I do feel like there may be situations where you might run solo Giri with Storm Drain, paired with something next to something like Arcanine Hisui or Gliscor, both of them being weak to water. Um, and yeah, it has actually good special attack at 120 and usable speed at 82. Dragonite is amazing Pokemon. we've seen it pick up a lot of popularity in this round of Reg H, being able to use loaded dice scale shot, using haze, using tailwind, that type of stuff. So I do feel like that's pretty nice on this team. Multi-scale being able to tank one hit for sure at max HP, as well as Inner Focus becoming immune to Intimidate and flinching. So Incineroar is being shut down by this. Speaking of Incineroar, we get to look at his brother here at Rillaboom. And Rillaboom on this team, I think, synergizes a good amount. Being able to pair with Unburdened Hawlucha and Grassy Seed, being able to double Hawlucha's speed and double acrobatic space power for Hawlucha. Also gets access to Fake Out, which is very good. Also gets Grassy Glide, which is an actual pretty powerful priority move that gets Stab for Rillaboom here. But yeah, it's overall pretty good Pokemon on this team, I feel. There's also Gliscor, which for round 5, I feel like it might have been a bit early, but at 4 points isn't bad by any means, so I won't say it's like the worst thing in the world. It has a few techs here in there. Being able to use Poison Heal and the Toxicorb, so it's able to heal itself. Hyper Cutter being immune to Intimidate. And yeah, it has 95 attack and speed, so actually not bad at all. So that's pretty nice. There's also Hisuian Arcanine, which is another great Pokemon on this team, being able to pull together the Fire, Water, Grass core. You have Intimidate to be able to lower the opponent's attack, just like we saw in the last team with Fanta. And it also gets access to Flash Fire if you want to go something like Terra Grass. So then you're immune to fire type moves, as well as shedding your water and ground quad weakness for a resistance to both. Also gets Rockhead, which is really good. So you can use Flare Blitz or Wild Charge or Head Smash without any recoil, while those moves are super powerful, especially if you're pairing it with the Choice Band item. Weezing, honestly, on this team, I'm not gonna lie, Weezing doesn't look that good. All these Pokemon like really want their abilities, besides maybe Duraludon and Duraludon and Veluza maybe. I mean, it is bulky. It does get Haze, it does get Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, but most thing it's Taunt. So I don't think there's anything crazy that it's gonna do. Levitate being able to be immune to ground type attacks is nice for only having one weakness, but I don't really understand the Weezing on this team, not gonna lie. Hawlucha I really like on this team. As I said earlier, it pairs great with Rillaboom, as well as being able to have Unburdened Tailwind, so double speed is very good to have. So then you're hitting a very high base speed, so then you're able to outspeed almost anything before they can move, and then you're able to have Tailwind, and then your ally's speed is doubled, so then that's also able to move before your opponent. Veluza, I don't mind. I think it's not bad for 3 points. Sharpness, paired with like Aqua Cutter, Psycho Cut, Night Slash, that type of stuff, actually does a pretty solid amount of damage with its base 102 attack. And it's actually surprisingly bulkier than you would expect, with 90 HP, 73 defense, and 65 special defense. But it's, at the end of the day, it's a 3-point Pokemon. It's not amazing. Duraludon, though. Duraludon used to be a full evolved Pokemon, but now it is able to hold the Eviolite item pair because of Archeludon. And it has totally respectable stats. Has 120 special attack, which is great. 85 speed, so it's able to be used with Tailwind. Um, it also has great defenses with 70 HP, 115 defense, and 50 special defense, with everything but HP being able to be multiplied by 1.5 because of EV Light. Um, yeah, I think this is overall a very well constructed team. However, I do feel like there are a lot, maybe not a lot, but the few glaring weaknesses that there are is very big. Um, so the first thing I'm just gonna say is I feel like there are way too many physical attackers on this team. Like, you have Dondozo, Dragonite, Rillaboom, Gliscor, Hisuian Arcanine, Halucha, Veluza. Well, not most of the time, but Weezing has a higher physical attack too than its special. So after that, you're really only left with Tatsugiri and Duraludon, and yes, they aren't bad. The only problem is that they're both walled out by um like a steel type that is resistant to water. So they don't have a ton of like ways to break through that. Um, this team's also very weak to Trick Room, I would say, because they don't have a super slow Pokemon outside of maybe Dondozo. So Trick Room is also pretty strong into this team, especially because there isn't a Trick Room user on this team, so they can't reverse it, and there's no Imprison to deny it either. Um, Intimidate is pretty good to the team. There are ways to get around it, obviously, but it feels pretty safe into it most of the time. Um, what else? I'm gonna no redirection at all is very rough. Because you most of the time want to be having some sort of like supportive cast of Pokemon, and yeah, it this team does get a good amount of pivoting Pokemon with Rillaboom, Gliscor, and Halucha all learning U-turn. So that's pretty nice. Thunder Wave, Willow is able to spread statuses around is also very good. Um, Obviously fake off from Rilla, knock off from some stuff. But yeah, so I think this team can be used well, but I think there is definitely a limit. So I think that this team probably would land itself at like a higher end C or a lower end B. So I think I'll let it stay at C here, but who knows? Depending on how they pilot it, that could change. But we will get into the next team. Okay, so here we are with the third team in Hemz, and I think this is one of the best teams. Just right off the bat, you see the first three Pokemon, all amazing staples for all of Scarlet and Violet. Goldango being arguably the best Pokemon in all of Regulation H. Um, Also, it has Incineroar, which I will say is not as good in draft as it is in like tournament setting. However, that's not to say it isn't bad. As it's still Incineroar, access to Fake Out, Parting Shot, Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Intimidate. It gets everything a supporting Pokemon could ask for, as well as even more, like Close Combat, Flare Blitz, um, other niche moves you can use if you want to run it offensively. Grimmsnarl also with Prankster, Light Screen, and Reflect, being amplified if you want to hold the Light Clay item, which goes from 5 turns to 8 turns. It also gets access to Thunder Wave, being able to slow down the speed of the battle for the opponent. Also gets Frisk if you would want to use that, so able to find out the opponent's items and that type of stuff. Pickpocket I don't really see coming into play, just because it doesn't have that much of a use, but who knows, it might happen some point in time. What else does it get? It also gets access to Fake Out as well, which may not be as common, but it is definitely usable for sure. Um, yeah, it gets taunt too, so Prankster Taunt isn't bad by any means. So those core three are amazing, costing 20, 18, and 17 respectively, which there's no question as to why. So, yeah. Um, Mammal Swine is here, which is actually pretty good, cause um, yeah, Mammal Swine's really solid. Has a great offensive typing here with Ice and Ground. No type being able to resist. No single type being able to resist both of those. Um, Thick Fat being able to half fire damage, so it's effectively neutral. And Ice type moves become not very effective. It also gets access to stuff like Earthquake, so it's able to pair nice with Scyther. It has Stealth Rock if you want to run that. Um, Also got Haze though, which is very nice. Haze being able to like drop all stat changes across the field. Being able to be paired with Goldango or something, so then it's able to recover from the Make It Rain drops. So that could be nice. It also gets access to knockoff, so you are able to remove the target's item. It also gets roar if you need to run that at some point. Gets charm for damage mitigation. But yeah, Mammoth Swine I feel like fits pretty nice on this team. Porygon 2 I think is great on this team. Um, it looks a little bit confusing at first, and I can definitely understand that. But there are a good amount of slow Pokemon on this team. Like Incineroar, Grimmsnarl are both base 60s, well as Hisui and Decidueye. So those are going to be able to be very slow in Trick Room and do out slow damage over time. Down three amazing abilities. We have Download in case you think your opponent cannot deny the special attack raise, which is going to be amazing for Porygon 2 since it already has a good special attack stat of 105. It also gets Trace, so you can find out one of your opponent's abilities. Then Analytic can be used, probably won't be used as much as the other two, but overall, a great Pokemon. It is the sole Trick Room setter on this team, which isn't bad. Um, but yeah, I definitely think it's a great Pokemon to have. Scyther, not super recently, but like I want to say about a month ago, Scyther won a regional, so obviously has great potential. Um, Having Technician dual wing beat, so it's more like a base 150, base 120. I mean, flying type physical move that's stab, so it goes up to pretty much um 180 at that point. And 110 attack coming off that is actually really nice. Being able to get off great damage on some stuff. It also gets access to close combat for covering like steel types. Bug bite if you want bug stab. Um, Gets Tailwind if you want to run that. Gets Swords Dance, U-turn, knockoff. A ton of great utility as well as being a very potent offensive threat. Also gets 70 HP and 80 in both defenses, and 80 multiplied by 1.5 is 120 in both defenses about is actually great bulk for an Eviolite Pokemon. And you're able to Terra out of your horrendous typing of bug flying. Um, but yeah, I definitely think Scyther is super usable. And then next Pokemon we have is Rabombi, which again a great Pokemon here. I do think it's a bit lacking compared to the everything else so far. But base 124 speed in regulation H, I mean, is very hard to come by, as most stuff is on the slower end. So that fast of a tailwind is going to be very nice to have. Um, so yeah, shield dust being able to prevent secondary effects, I believe. I can check that really quick. Shield dust. Yes, it is immune to secondary effects, so stuff like fake out will not affect it, so it still gets its tailwind off no matter what. Fairy is an amazing type, especially since you have 2 on this team, and it's very hard to come by good fairies in Reg H. It gets access to Stun Spore if you want status, gets Calm Mind, Quiver Dance, that type of stuff. It gets Imprison if you would want to like imprison Tailwind or something. You also have for next Pokemon we have Hisuian Decidueye, which is great. Its ability Scrappy allows it to hit ghost types with normal and fighting type moves, as well as being immune to Intimidate, which is very nice. Considering it has base 112 attack, which is totally usable. But yeah, it also gets access to signature move Triple Arrows, which is amazing. Which has a there's a ton of secondary effects. Let me take a look at this. It has like 3 secondary effects, I believe. Yes, has high crit chance, has 50% to lower their defense, and 30% to flinch. So let's just say you get that thing under Trick Room, and if you manage to do that, it is going to be doing huge damage as well as probably hexing the opponent. As well as it being base 60 speed is able to outspeed a good amount of the meta in Tailwind too. We have Pachirisu, which I definitely feel like fits this team very well, as at the time they were lacking any sort of redirection. But now Pachirisu has Follow Me, so that's very nice. Has Volt Absorb in case you want to switch it in for your Scyther or something else that might take an incoming electric attack. Actually has pretty usable defenses. Not anything crazy, but like if you invest in it, 60, 70, 90 isn't horrible. It also gets access to like a Nuzzle, so you get a para off on something. Gets U-turn and Volt Switch, so if you want like a pivoting move, you can do that too. But yeah, I think it's really just here for Follow Me, which I think is totally valid on this team. I think it's pretty nice. And then not much to say about Ditto. It gets Imposter, turn into the opponent's Pokemon, Choice Scarf, max HP, and then yeah, nothing crazy about Ditto. Anyways, okay, let's take a look at weaknesses. I would say there isn't anything super obvious in this team, besides like possibly you saying fighting types, because fighting types is very good to this team, being able to hit Incineroar, Mamoswine, Porygon. I won't count Ditto, but there's that. And then also the Pokemon that resist fighting are all weak to fire. So Scyther, Rabombi, and Goldengo. So fighting I think might be a problem. So like something like Blaziken, Infernape, Emboar, any of those could be a problem for this. But overall, this team is like very well rounded. You also have a pretty bad weakness to fire types, only having only one resistance in Incineroar. But obviously, Terra can help that. But yeah, your speed tiers look good. Oh wait, no. I remember a weakness. Your speed tiers in the lower end aren't great, as you have 1, 2, 3, 4 Pokemon that are all base 60. So you'll have to Eevee or Ivy train those to hit different speeds that you would want, because if you have 4 different Pokemon speed tying, that is just there's no other way to put it than that it's never good. But still, I think this team is amazing, so I think I'm gonna put this at S tier because this is just it's so well rounded. You have three great Pokemon in Goldango, Incineroar, and Grimmsnarl for sure, all being able to help each other. And yeah, just a great team together. So we will get into the next one. Okay, so here we are with SKprime, and their team um is interesting. It is obviously hard Trick Room, being able to set up Trick Room with Klefki, Sinstcha, and Hatterene, which is pretty nice. Um, you have Ursaluna Blood Moon, which is again one of the Pokemon competing for the best Pokemon in Regulation H, and it is also great in Draft as like Earth Power, Vacuum Wave, Moonblast, that type of stuff is all definitely usable on it. Um, you also have King Gambit being able to again use Defiant or Supreme Overlord depending on the matchup. So that's pretty nice being paired along with Trick Room. There's also Klefki, which gets dual screens with Prankster as well as Thunderwave and Trick Room. So I would say it's pretty similar to Grimmsnarl in that sense. Because it also gets like Thunderwave and stuff. But there's also Sinistcha, which is again a great supporting Pokemon in Reg H. Being able to have Hospitality or Heat Proof, which in tournaments, if you've been watching anything, you have seen that Heat Proof has been picking up a little bit in popularity with like Calm Mind and stuff. So that's definitely usable. Hospitality being able to heal the ally for a quarter of their health is also amazing, as well as it having Rage Powder, so it's able to redirect attacks. Um, gets the signature move Machigacha, which um does damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon, and I believe it's a 20% chance to burn, if I remember correctly. But that burn chance is always gonna be super nice. But yeah, it does 20% chance to burn each Pokemon, and it also heals for 50 of the damage it dealt. So just an amazing move. We have Hatterene on this team, which, in my opinion, at least feels a bit out of place since there's no either Indeedee. And if you're ever running Hatterene, I feel like you kind of need Indeedee. So I'm a bit curious what's gonna happen with that. Um, but it's a good Trick Room setter, being able to bounce back anything like Taunt or Encore with Magic Bounce. Um, yeah, it gets high special attack at 136, so yeah, it also gets a Nuzzle for sure, so able to paralyze the opponent. And it surprisingly has 90 attacks, so if you would like want to run a mixed set sometime for some reason, you have that option. You also have Healer being able to sometimes heal your allies' status conditions. So, like, let's just say you're next to Hitmontop, King Gambit, Altaria, Flygon, Bisharp, one of those, and they're like burned or something. Then there's a chance that it might heal them. So that's nice. Um, Hitmontop, I think is pretty nice on this team. Intimidate, Fake Out, Wide Guard. I've used it before in the past in draft. It's amazing. You're able to pretty often as well use like technician sets with stuff like I believe it gets Mach Punch. I know for sure it gets Bullet Punch. It also gets like Triple Axle, so that's doing a base power of 180, and ice moves are great to have. Um, yeah, it's just great. It has Intimidate, Fake Out, Wide Guard. Um, oh wait, I went there. I I believe it also gets. Wait, does it not get knockoff? Let me check this really quick. Because I want to say it does. Does not get access to knockoff, which is a bit interesting. Gets Endeavor, gets Ice Spinner to like reset the terrain. Sucker Punch if you want to use that. Coaching. Coaching's always very good, especially on this team with like King Gambit, um, or Flygon being able to boost their attack and defense. But yeah, Mandibuzz I feel is a bit interesting. Definitely a bulky staple on this team, with like Overcoat being able to be immune to like Spore and stuff. But if I'm being honest, I don't see a ton of what it's doing here. Um, has Tailwind obviously, but you already have two other setters in Flygon and Altaria, so I don't know. But I think it's definitely not bad. Um, I don't know. There's not much to say about Mandibuzz, but then we're gonna Flygon to get access to Dragon Dance along with like Tailwind and that type of stuff. So that's pretty nice. Access to Levitate, so if you Terra Electric or Steel, you lose one of your weaknesses. You can also go Terra Fire to become immune to Will-O-Wisp, or yeah. Altaria again gets Perish Song if you would wanna like try doing something like that. Also gets Tailwind and Will-O-Wisp and Haze, which is all great tools. Um, and usable bulk at 75, 90, 105. There's also, if I'm being honest, Bisharp makes no sense to be on this team. Like, you already have King Gambit. You really do not have a reason for a second Dark Steel type. It's just giving you another weakness here. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really vibe with that a ton. Okay, so looking at this team, I don't feel like it's great, if I'm being honest, because it's like hard Trick Room, and that often does not work in draft, because a lot of opponents will be able to have imprisoned Trick Roomer like Taunt, especially since your redirector is Rage Powder, so you can just go for Safety Goggles, then Taunt whatever the Trick Room setter is, like Klefki. Plus, you have three Pokemon at base 70 in Sinistra, Hitmontop, and Bisharp, so that's not great. Also, I'm not seeing a ton of damage on this team outside of Hatterene, King Gambit, and Ursaluna. Maybe Sinistra or Flygon and Hitmontop can do something, but I don't know. This team doesn't feel great. You have two quad fighting weaknesses, which isn't good. There's too many dupes of the same typing. I feel like, as you have 3 Steel type, 3 Dark type, 2 Dragon, 2 Fairy, which Dragon and Fairy and Steel are most of the time fine, but it's not great. Especially since even though you have 3 Steel type, you still have only have 1 Fairy resistance. So Fairy's great into the team because it's super effective on Hitmontop, Mandibuzz, Flygon, Altaria. But yeah, I don't really know how to feel about this one. So I think that I'll probably put this one at C. Well, I'm not sure. I'm gonna move up Magic's team since it is strictly physical attackers, but I do feel like it's definitely better than this. But yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about this one. There's some good pieces, but together I don't feel like they work super well. So I think I'm gonna have it at C. Now we have Draco Meteor's team, which is again a Trick Room team, but it's just it just feels so much better compared to the last one. And that is mainly because it has a mode outside of Trick Room. So let's take a look at these tools. So we have Ursaluna, an amazing Pokemon in Regate. the flame orb burning it, be able to modify its attack by 1.5 with guts, as well as doubling Facade's base power and getting Earthquake to do insane damage, getting Headlong Rush to do insane damage. I believe it also gets Drain Punch. I think it's most of the elemental punches, if I remember correctly. Great coverage in draft. I think it's gonna be a solid Pokemon to have. In DD female, again, an amazing what follow me or Pokemon follow me. Being able to redirect attacks, as it's very bulky with 70, 65, 105. If you invest into those stats. It also is the first Trick Room setter, which is nice to have. Also gets Helping Hand, unsurprisingly. Pretty sure it gets Heal Pulse. Yeah, and then we get into another amazing Pokemon in Sneasler here. With its Unburden ability, so in Psychic Terrain, it is able to double its speed with the Psychic Seeds item. So that's super nice to have with Unburden. And 120 speed is amazing in Reg-Age. So sometimes you won't even have to run Unburden, and you might just run like Poison Touch. So yeah, you have Skiploom here, which it looks a bit interesting. However, for a 1-pointer, it's actually really good. 55, 50, and 65 with Eviolite is actually pretty usable and solid. Base 80 speed being doubled in Sun with Chlorophyll from Torkoal is amazing. Gets access to Tailwind. I believe it gets Sleep Powder. It gets Rage Powder. Gets U-Turn. Leaf Storm, I would assume. It's basically just a budget Jumpluff, and yeah, it's just super good to have. An amazing 1-pointer, arguably one of the best for this team. But yeah, there is Charizard here with Solar. There's Torkoal here now. Sorry. An infamous Trick Room Pokemon. Amazing with Drought, Choice Specs Eruption, or Heat Wave, Weather Ball. Anything of that sort. Is super nice to have. Also gets access to like Earth Power, Sludge Bomb for coverage into like a Water type or something. Terra Blast is also pretty nice on it since it has 85 physical and special attack, so you can modify Terra Blast to either physical or special. But yeah, base 20 speed I would say is the slowest good Pokemon in the regulation. But yeah, so now we have Charizard here with in Reg-Age, this is actually a pretty good Pokemon. So in like past gens from 7, actually no, not 7, just like 8 and prior, it's been doing the same role. In Gen 8, it had its broken Gigantamax form with Max Wildfire and Solar Power Life Orb, so it just does insane damage from the start and over time. So it has that. Its Mega gets Drought, Mega Y, and it just clicks Heat Wave over and over again. Mega X, it just goes for more raw damage with Tough Claws and like Dragon Dance for Flare Blitz, Dragon Claw. And it is doing the same thing it's always has been. Click buttons and do a lot of damage. Obviously Solar Power being able to modify its special attack by 1.5, so it's a built-in choice specs into the Sun. If you slap on another choice specs, that means all the special moves are going to be multiplied by 2.25. Which is super busted. So that's like saying even a resisted hit will still be multiplied, so it does more damage than it would normally. Paired with like a fire type move in the Sun with Stab, it's just like if you think you can switch into it, you can't. It is just amazing. We also have Hydrapple here, which for 9 points is actually pretty nice. Obviously, leaning into the Trick Room mode with Ndidi. Um, so that's pretty nice. Base 44 speed, being able to hit below that base 50 mark is super nice. With 120 special attack, going for Nasty Plot if it wants to. Fickle Beam, which Fickle Beam is able to double in power 30% of the time, I believe. But 30%, yeah. A great Pokemon Regenerator, a broken ability. Not as good as in double, not as good as it is in singles, but still super usable. Choice Specs is definitely an option. Um, 80 special defenses being able to be multiplied with the Assault Vest, paired with its 106 HP and 110 defense. Yeah, great Pokemon overall. We have Groudon, which is a nice budget Pokemon. It gets Hyper Cutter, which, as we talked about with Gliscor, unable to lower its attack with. Yeah, it's either unable to lower its attack or just immune to Intimidate. Either way, gets the point across. Excuse me. But the main thing is you also get adaptability for like stuff like Aqua Jet, Knockoff, Liquidation, that type of stuff. So that is just great to have, being able to do loads of damage to stuff. But yeah. So then there's also Earthworm, which I think is a great bring on to this team, as it pairs amazingly next to Ursaluna with Earthquake. Since it gets Earth Eater, it heals up for whenever it's hit with a ground type move instead of taking damage, which is even better since it's a steel type, so it loses one of its weaknesses while it still retains its insane amount of resistances. Um, you also have Armouge on the team, which I think is amazing. Like, really, really good. And yeah, it gets access to Flash Fire. Like, if you want Terra Grass, you're able to do that if you want to lean Tricker mode. I am interested though, because I know this used to be like a super big thing in like super early regulations of Scarlet and Violet. Maybe reg A or B, maybe C, where you would Terra Psychic the Armouge and then you would side U-turn into your Indeedee. So then it procs weakness policy and weak armor, so you get double special attack and double speed. So on this team, I feel like the best thing that could pair with it would be Jumpluff, since it has 45 attack, so it's not going to be doing a lot anyway. But then you Terra Psychic, you U-turn your Armouge, and then you switch into Indeedee, and then fire off Terra Psychic +2 Expanding Force, and it just is absolutely insane. Also gets access to Trick Room, a secondary Trick Room setter for your mainly Trick Room oriented team, which is always nice to have. You want to have at least 2, in my opinion, if you're running hard Trick Room. Well, not hard Trick Room, but having a Trick Room mode. Also gets access to Wide Guard, so able to block side Ursaluna Earthquake is always pretty nice. Yeah. So let's get into the weaknesses of this team, and honestly, I don't see a ton. Maybe, I mean, flying types aren't great for the team, as you have 3 weaknesses in Hydrapple, Skiploom, and Sneasler, with only 1 resistance in Earthworm, but like, that's definitely manageable. Same thing with Rock, like, you're weak on Armouge, Torkoal, Skiploom again, sorry. And Charizard, but you have 3 resistances, so I feel like you're probably fine. Plus, unlike SKprime's team, I believe this is a much better Trick Room mode, as if we take a look back, it is like hard Trick Room and you don't have any other mode. Meanwhile, this one, you're able to Like you have Tailwind, Skiploom if you want to run fast Ursaluna, or like fast Hydrapple, fast Crawdaunt, fast Earthworm. If you want to unlock any of those modes, you have a super fast Pokemon in the regulation and Sneasler, being able to do insane damage to anything, as well as it being great for a Focus Sash user or a Fake Out user or Endure, Unburden, Leashy Berry. Gets coaching as well, which is great. So yeah, honestly, I don't see a ton of weaknesses with the team. It doesn't. Um, it gets double redirection, which is great. It does not get haze, which is a bit of a problem. It doesn't get thunderwave, doesn't get volt switch, which again are slight problems, but nothing too crazy. No imprison isn't super good, since you kind of want imprison to like taunt or encore. Since if you get taunted or encore out of or into your trick room, that is not what you want to ideally happen. So I think this team is great. So where am I gonna put this? Um, I think I'm gonna put it right below. It's either gonna be, it's either below or above Fanta. Let me take a look at their teams one more time. So Fanta, it's a bit repetitive, so I do think that this has more options. Um, so if it lets me, maybe if I pick this one up, yes, okay, there. So I do think that will be like the very tippity top of A. I mean, I feel like it's a great team overall. So yeah, I will get into the. Okay, so here we are. It is my team now. Yay! Um, so my team, I kind of went for a more like overall balanced team, and I try to grab as many tools as possible. So I'll just go over it. So round one, we went with Basculegion. Great Pokemon with like Choice Scarf adaptability, or if I want to set up like Rain manually, I can go Swift Swim Choice Band. Um, Last Respects is such a great move. So is Wave Crash paired with its base 112 attack. It can do insane damage, especially because 120 HP is great bulk. So I have that. Alola Ninetales, one of, if not my favorite Pokemon to use in Reg H. It is super versatile in how you use it. You can run choice specs, Focus Sash, Light Clay, Covert Cloak. Yeah, you're right. So it gets obviously snow warning, so you're able to set up snow for yourself, and you're then able to set up Aurora Veil, which has yeah, it have wait, let me yeah, it does half damage to it. So that's always super nice to have. Um it gets Blizzard, so you can have it can bypass the accuracy check and not have to look at all, and just guaranteed go for a Blizzard here. And gets Moonblast, Draining Kiss, Calm Mind, Encore, Disable, a ton of different tools. It gets Imprisoned too if there's something you might be scared of. So yeah, then we have Volcarona, which I've personally like almost never used like at all in anything, but I thought it looked pretty cool. It has two main modes. It's usually either Tailwind or Setup. So the Tailwind one is like it has Tailwind, Rage Powder, Struggle Bug, maybe Heat Wave, Protect, Quiver Dance, Protect, Heat Wave, Quiver Dance, or Protect is the last move usually. But yeah, that is like the support event, usually running Flame Body on that no matter what, so able to redirect attacks into it with its super respectable defenses in 85, 65, and 105. Then there's obviously the setup mode, which I feel like people will recognize it for more. Usually running like Quiver Dance, being able to boost special defense, special attack, and speed. Um, Heat Wave and Bug Buzz for stab moves, and then Protect just to stall out turns. Maybe Giga Drain or Terra Blast Fairy are also great options to run on it, but super versatile Pokemon. We have Scrafty. I feel like for 11, Scrafty was an amazing pickup. Being able to have Intimidate, gets Fake Out, Swords Dance, Dragon Dance, and Bulk Up if I ever want to like run a setup one. Gets also Knockoff, so able to disrupt my opponents. Not horrible defensive typing in fighting and dark. As you can see, it is quad weak to fairy. However, that's manageable with like Terra if I want to turn into like poison or steel or something. Being able to shed that away. Speaking of shed, it gets shed skin, so like if I want to run that for a week and I'm running more offensive, I can run that and hope to like drop a burn or a para I might get at some point. Also gets Moxie, so every KO I pick up I'll get a +1 attack boost, so that could be nice in some matchups. Yeah. So I'm on to Kill Watchful now. Great speed tier here. 125, super good in this regulation, as I think that might have been the fastest Pokemon normally drafted. Without any boosts or anything. But gets super fast Tailwind. It's able to like have wind power, so it charges. It gains a charge effect, so its electric moves are doubled, I believe. It also has Weather Ball, which is super nice to combo with low Ninetales, as nothing resists, not a single type resists both electric and ice at once. It gets competitive to deny like Intimidate or Icy Wind or any type of that stuff, so I'm able to go for like that if I want to. I also have Volt Absorb if I want to like Terra, like fully go Terra Flying. So then I'm only weak to Ice and Rock, which I only was before, but is still like super nice to have. Obviously got super fast Tailwind. 105 special attack is super nice. 70, 60, 60 defenses are not bad by any means. Well, they're not great, but they're usable with investment in like Covert Cloak, Safety Goggles, Focus Sash. All those are great items to pair it with. Terra Ghost is going to be pretty common, I feel. You also got T-Wave on this. You got Volt Switch, U-Turn. But yeah, I kind of want to try it out. I've never like done anything with it at all. Then we have Wheezing, which feels super nice. Being able to shut off abilities, which the first few Pokemon, like as you can see, really like their abilities, but the final three, the final four don't need them as much. So yeah, we have Wheezing obviously for that. It also gets access to Levitate, so it becomes only one weakness in Psychic. Also gets access to Haze, being able to reset stat changes across the board. If I want to pair that with something like I believe Scrafty gets Close Combat. I know for sure Goodra gets Draco Meteor. If I just want to like reset those, that could be a nice combo. Also with neutralizing gas, obviously, being able to shut off abilities, but also gets access to Will-O-Wisp. being able to half the opponent's attack that it hits. It also has haze. I already said haze. It gets taunt, so if I want to like run it faster, I can do that. Gets heat wave for spread fire type moves, being able to hit those steel types that are immune to poison. Sludge bomb, being able to hit fairies that are pretty good into my team super effectively, which is nice. I definitely a supporting Pokemon. I don't think I'll be doing a ton of damage super often, but definitely usable. Now we get into the fun trio that finishes off Weezing. We have Slacking and Toedscruel. So, if you don't know, Toedscruel has an ability called Mycelium Might, and that ability makes all non-attacking status moves go last in the priority bracket, always, without any way to change that. Unless you pair it next to Galarian Weezing, I mean, not Galarian Weezing, just pair it next to normal Weezing, and shuts off its ability. So, you get base 100 speed Spore, being able to put the opponent to sleep, which is the biggest and like most detrimental status condition you can get, besides maybe freeze. So that's amazing to pair with it. It's access to like, obviously Spore. It gets Taunt. 100 speed Taunt isn't bad by any means. Gets Trick Room if I want to lean into that with like Scrafty or Yzui and Goodra. Gets Rage Powder for some redirection, which is pretty nice to have. It also gets Knockoff, so if I like want to have some sort of tech, I know for sure it has Mirror Coat, so able to like reflect moves back at the opponent, which is pretty nice to do. Ground and Grass isn't great necessarily, but it's able to be used Terra pretty well, being able to Terra into, let's say, a fire type, so then it becomes not so then it resists fire, ice, and bug then, which were all super effective on it before that. Yeah, a great redirector paired with Volcarona as well, so we have 2 of those now. Yeah. Then we get into the final Pokemon in the trio of the Weezing connections. We have Slacking here, which Slacking is an entire beast on its own. 150 HP, 160 attack, 100 attack, 195 95 special attack if I want to use that, since it's actually pretty usable. 65 special defense, and 100 speed. This thing is a monster. It has stats of a box art legendary Pokemon. It is able to compete with stuff like Groudon and Rayquaza. So, why is this monster allowed in such a low power level format where not even basic legendaries can be used, like Zapdos or Articuno or Moltres? Great question, you ask. And that would be because there is its ability. Its ability Truant, whatever you want to call it, is one of, if not the worst ability in all of competitive Pokemon. So basically what Truant says is every other turn you are unable to move. You're able to switch out, but your Pokemon is unable to use any attack, even if it is not actually doing damage. And that's very easy to build around, as you can just protect every other turn and just can't do anything. However, Weezing shuts that ability off, so then it's able to attack as much as it wants every single turn, which is absolutely stupid about how broken that is. 'Cause that shouldn't work that way. That is super broken. But hey, I am not complaining. I don't even think it gets a ton of access to set moves. It might get Bulk Up, gets Thunder Wave for some reason, gets Knockoff, Double Edge, which Double Edge should Oko, almost anything that doesn't resist it. So that's super nice. Um, uh, yeah, just a huge, great Pokemon. Um, we move on to the next one, Stone Joiner. I kind of, I've never used Stone Joiner. It seems pretty funny. He has a little design. Um, but the main reason I grabbed him was his ability Power Spot, and what it says is, my ally gets its attack boosted by 1.3. So like, and it doesn't discriminate against which attack it is. So like, it can be Scrafty getting its close combat being multiplied by 1.3. It can be its Volcarona getting its fiery dance multiplied by 1.3. Toad's Rule Earth Power 1.3. Basque Legion Lancer Effects 1.3. You got the point. Um, a great ability. Honestly, this dude is silly looking, and he looks like he looks friend shaped. Um, he has wide guard, so able to block stuff like Psy Spam or like Heat Wave or stuff like that. Um, I'm not even like fully sure about all the tools it gets. It gets Facade, Iron Defense, Body Press, which is pretty nice. Gets Stealth Rock if I want to use that. Um, Imprison, which sounds a bit odd for it to learn it, but it does learn it. Not that there's anything I think it would be able to take advantage of, but definitely usable for sure. Obviously Earthquake, high horsepower. Smackdown it gets access to, which is pretty nice, but I don't know, seems kind of fun to use. We also have Hisui and Gudra as the last slot. And Hisui and Gudra is pretty nice. It has a great typing in Steel Dragon, only having 2 weaknesses to fighting and ground. Sap Sipper. If I want to like Terra Water, I'm able to only have 1 weakness to electric. I have shell armor, so I can't be crit if I want to go for like a setup angle, like acid armor, body press. So that could be cool. I have gooey, which is very good since it lowers the opponent's speed when they make contact with me. Um, However, though, I do think this thing is actually really good in draft since it has 100 attack and 110 special attack, so it's able to be used both ways. Um, 80 to 80 HP, 100 defense, and 150 special defense is absolutely insane distribution. Um, it can eat pretty much any non-super effective hit, like almost anything. It can live an insane amount of stuff, especially if you're running the assault vest. 150 times 1.5 is insanity. Plus 60 speed is is just above the usable limit, so it's able to be used in Tailwind with like Kilowattrel or Volcarona, but it's also be able to be used in Trick Room against faster teams with Toadscruel. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So taking a look at weaknesses, um, right off the bat, I don't think there's any like super obvious weaknesses to start with. Um, Maybe you could say I have a slight lack of special attackers, but I really don't think I do, since I have, let's just see, I have Gudra, um, Volcarona, Ninetales, and Kilowattrel, but yeah. I will say I do think the biggest weakness on my team is I have 3 Pokemon at base 100, which is not great by any means, but it could be worse. So yeah, there's that. Um, but honestly, I think I'm put my team at. There's I think I'm definitely gonna put my team at S. It comes down to if it's better or not compared to Hemz's team. Um, both are really good, obviously. Um, I, huh. Hmm. I want to say mine is slightly better. However, it is a completely valid argument if you think his is better. I can fully understand that. Um, and obviously, I'm assuming everybody knows, but this is just also going off of my opinion and like my personal preference as to how good these teams are. So who knows? Maybe a player knows how to play their team exceptionally well, but I ranked it super low. Um, yeah, this is just going straight off of what I think of that actual Pokemon teams. So yeah, we will get into the next one though. Okay, here we are, the Rain team, which we all knew it was coming at some point. So here it is. Um, and honestly, it's pretty good. Um, after the first few picks, I was a bit confused. But once we got to Mousehold, it started like picking up again. Um, excuse me. Um, Geladon's a great Pokemon in Rain, arguably one of the best, arguably the best. Um, However, I will say the fact that Basket Legion's on this team helps, well, like hurts it a good amount, so as to go to Kingdra. But okay, so we have our Archelodon, obviously 3 insane abilities. We have Sturdy, Stalwart, and Stamina. The SSS, all amazing abilities. Stamina being able to boost the defense paired with Mousehold. Um, Super notorious combo. Also gets Sturdy being able to survive any one attack from max HP. Um, Stalwart being able to be redirected by moves, so that's really nice to have. I also have Sableye. I mean, obviously, Archelon also gets Electro Shot, so it's basically Electric type Meteor Beam, and it works in the rain. But yeah, then we have Sableye. It gets Prankster, which is the only ability you're gonna run on it. It gets access to Trick Room, Taunt, I believe. Yes, it gets access to Taunt. It gets Dual Screens. It gets Thunder Wave. It gets Will-O-Wisp. It gets Quash, which is a nice tech move to have. It gets Imprison. It gets Fake Out, Knockoff. Great tools across the board for Sableye. But yeah. Then we have Espathra, which unfortunately in this league, which I'm a bit confused about, you aren't able to baton pass stat changes or substitutes, which I never really understood why those were banned in VGC games, but it is what it is, so you can't really do much about it. But outside of that, Espathra, I don't really know what it does, because I feel like that's the main thing it wants to do. Like baton passing Calm Minds and speed boosts onto Archelodon. Also gets Opportunist though, so it's able to copy opponent's stat changes. For example, like a Quiver Dance or a Bulk Up or Iron Defense. Also gets Frisk. Being able to find out the opponent's items is amazing. And yeah. It also gets access to like Trick Room, Expanding Force, U-Turn, Calm Mind. Yeah. Then we have Mousehold, which is, I'm surprised it took till round 4 for Mousehold to go, which I don't know, that's a bit insane if you ask me. Sorry. Friend Guard Follow Me is an amazing combo, as you can usually see with like Clefairy, like absolutely stellar pairing to have. You also have Technician if you want to boost a Population Bomb to technically about what's it called? If you want to boost it up to about 300 base power, that is absolutely insanity. So that is fun. Plus you get the stab bonus, so then it's more like 450. So that is so fun. But yeah, You have that for Technician. You also got like Follow Me, obviously, Super Fang, Thunder Wave, ton of utility. Side Population Bomb with Archelodon is super nice with stamina. Um, so you're able to get +6 and then just send off Body Press after Body Press. Another thing I don't feel like people will notice on this team as much is Beat Up. So Beat Up will do random. I think it's 20 base power technically, but it does damage based off the attack of each one in your party. But you can attack your side Galate or side Lucario that have Justified, and each hit counts as one move. And every time Justified Pokemon gets hit with a Dark type attack, it gets their attack is boosted by 1. So effectively, they would go up to about ×3 attack if they're running Justified, obviously, which is super, super, super nice. Mousehold also it's a nice speed tier at 111, being able to outspeed anything 110 and below, which are frequently common in this regulation. Obviously gets U-turn. I already said Taunt is super nice for that being that fast. Kingdraw is a great Pokemon to have on Rain with Swift Swim being able to double its speed, as well as obviously won a regional in Reg H. If you remember Wolfie's team from last season, not last season, but last time Reg H was around. Yeah, Swift Swim, Life Orb, Terra Stellar, Terra Water, Weather Ball, that type of stuff. All of it's pretty good. Draco Meteor, all very, very good moves to have. Yeah, basically, Kindra's role, I believe, is just to like click as many buttons as it can before it dies. Yeah. Now, next Pokemon is Gallade here. Clear Amulet is usually really good on Gallade because it becomes immune to any stat drops. Most commonly, Intimidate, but also stuff like Icy Wind or Electro Web. Yeah. It gets access to Sharpness, so it's boosting all slicing moves, which is most of it, considering it's like Sacred Sword, Aqua Cutter, Night Slash, Leaf Blade, Psycho Cut. Pretty much any move that it wants to use and it's using already gets boosted by Sharpness. It also gets access to Wide Guard, which is nice. So yeah. It's a great Trick Room setter. Also it gets Imprison Trick Room, so that's also not bad. But yeah. Excuse me. There's also Pelipper, which is obviously the rain setter. Outside of Prankster Sableye Rain Dance, but it has a lot of utility moves. So it has like not Trick Room, Tailwind, Wide Guard, Helping Hand, Hurricane and Weather Ball are great for moves that are inside of Rain. Gets U-turn for a pivoting move. Maybe something like Weakness Policy could be cool 1 week. There's also like Muddy Water, Ice Beam. It's a really good supporting Pokemon in Rain and is able to do reasonable damage considering it has base 95 special attack. Lucario is a bit interesting on this team. You already have a good Steel type and a good Fighting type, so I'm not fully sure. It gets Inner Focus. Being able to be paired, not being paired, but being immune to Fake Out and Intimidate. So like Incineroar, Hitmontop, Scrafty, that type of stuff is not as good as you would think into it. It gets extreme speed, so that's nice. So you can go like Swords Dance, Terra Normal, Extreme Speed. So that could be like super super nice for a great priority option on this team. Um, it can be run physical or specially with 110 physical attack and 115 special, which in draft is very good. Um, its defenses are also surprisingly high at 70, 70, 70. So with some investment, definitely able to tank hits reasonably well. Um, base 90 speed is able to usually take advantage of tailwind a good amount. And outside of tailwind, still like 90 speed in this regulation isn't bad. Yeah. Then we have Cacturn, which I find a bit interesting. I'm not fully sure what it's gonna do here. It could sucker punch, I guess, but um, it has a 115 in both attacks, which is nice, but it's definitely gonna be more of like a trick room attacker. Its defenses aren't great at 70, 55, 55. I mean, no, 70, 60, 60. Um, speed of 55 is able to use in trick room, obviously. But yeah, it might have some niche uses. There's also Yzui and Zorak, his last one, which I think is pretty cool. Um, I think it's here to also do damage similar to the rest of the team, but I think it's also another key thing is just playing mind games on the opponent, which can always like trip someone up with illusion if you aren't ready for it. Get Swords Dance if you run it if you want to run it physically, which with its base 100 attack. I believe that's Shadow Sneak, so we have that priority. Gets Knockoff, gets Imprison, gets U-Turn, Calm Mind, Taunt, Will-O-Wisp. It gets the signature move Bitter Malice, so 75 base power, and it lowers the opponent's attack by 1. Ghost type move. Gets Hyper Voice, so if you want to run like Throat Spray or something, that could definitely be usable. But yeah, let's take a look at the weaknesses. So, number one thing I want to say, Spathra not being able to baton pass, like, really sucks. If they allowed baton pass of stats, I think this team would be miles better. But, like, without it, it's, I don't know, Spathra, like, it's usable, but it's not, like, crazy good or anything. So, I don't know. This team is fairy types. Fairy types are amazing into this team. There is 0 resistances with 4 weaknesses. And like no solid specially defensive tank outside of a Pokemon that is weak to fairy. So that is definitely, I would say, what the biggest weakness of the team is. Like fairy types just maul through everything. But yeah, the Spathra thing is really rough. Like if I feel like baton pass of stats should be allowed, but since it isn't, going to be a little bit rough without it. Still a solid team though. I'm not discrediting any of the great Pokemon on it, but yeah. Speed tiers are actually pretty good. There's only one repeating one in 285s, but 111 as your fastest isn't necessarily like amazing or anything, but it isn't bad, so definitely usable for sure. But I want to say that this is either an A or B team, I think. It's either like I think this is a lower. Well, yeah, I think it is. I think it's like a lower B team. Um, Still definitely not bad, but not great. So yeah, Well, that brings us to the final team, and let's get right into it. Okay, so here we are for the last team. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to fully pronounce the username, but yzui. That's what I'll go with. But sorry if I mispronounce it, not intentional, but yeah, let's just get right into it. This team is a bit interesting. Um, yeah. So round one, Gothitelle. In my opinion, I don't agree with that. Gothitelle, don't get me wrong, it's great. It gets access to like Frisk, so able to check the opponent's um items. Competitive, being able to like in case you try to intimidate or icy wind or electro of it gets +2 special attack. And obviously the main one, Shadow Tag, being able to trap anything on the field. Um, the problem is I feel like your pick one should be something that like centralizes that every opponent needs to prep for, and I don't feel like Gothitelle really demands that. So, it's a bit of a problem, but it does get a lot of good support moves. Not to discredit that. It gets Fake Out, which is really good. Trick Room, Imprison, Thunderwave, Calm Mind, Taunt, Heal Pulse, Expanding Force. It might get Dazzling Gleam, might get Encore. Not sure about those ones, but just throwing out ideas. So definitely a usable Pokemon, not bad. But I just wouldn't say like it's great. Next Pokemon we got is Weavile, which I actually pretty like. I actually like Weavile a good amount, especially on this team. So obviously like pressure, being able to lower the PP doesn't matter that much. Pickpocket also doesn't matter that much though. So kind of dead abilities, but yeah. We do have though knockoff coming from base 120 attack, which is great. Um, there's also Calm Mind. If you for some reason, okay, no, the Calm Mind's not coming. I'm just looking through the moves on the side, but yeah, Calm Mind is never coming with a Weavile. However though, Triple Axle is going to be doing a ton. 120 base power, 120 attack with stab. Um, great move. It gets low kick, low sleep. I mean, it does get low kick, but I don't feel it'll be used as much. But low sleep able to lower both opponents' special. I mean, lower both of their speeds by 1. Um, there is Fake Out. I think I already said that, but Fake Out, being able to flinch the opponent, is super nice. It gets access to actually a good amount of coverage, like Poison Jab, X Scissor, Brick Break, Shadow Claw, Aerial Ace, that type of stuff. So that's not bad. I feel like Focus Sash or Clear Eye it's usually what you're going to be wanting to use with it. So yeah. Amoonguss is a great Pokemon. However, in my opinion, I would not say it's a great Pokemon in draft. I'd say it's usable in draft, but like it has an array of problems. So the main one is safety goggles, obviously. So Spore, Rage Powder, that none of that means anything to Pokemon with safety goggles. Gets Regenerator though, which is nice, being able to switch out and then you heal up a bit. Effect Spore, I guess if you want to run it, you can inflict some random status on your opponent, which could be useful. You might run Lumberry, to become immune to Spore. Basically, Amoonguss is a great Pokemon, but there's a large amount of counterplay for it in draft. That's not to discredit though. It has 114 for defenses at 114, 70, and 80 are super solid. Its speed though, Base speed of 30, being able to be paired in Trick Room is really nice in that scenario. So there's that option. Um, and 85 in both attacking stats are usable. It gets access to, I believe, Leech Seed. I know for sure Foul Play, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Stomping Tantrum. Got some surprising coverage, but yeah. There's Hydreigon, which I feel like on this team it's gonna play more defensive oriented with stuff like Tailwind, Thunderwave, that type of stuff. But I do feel like it does have an option here to go for Focus Energy, Scope Lens, Draco Meteor, which is always kind of fun to use since I know that was really popular back in like Reg A and B, and I wouldn't mind that coming back. So yeah, there's what else? What else? It gets U-turn, which is nice. Definitely usable on that. Quad weakness of fairy isn't great, but manageable partially with Terra Poison. Um, okay, so then there's also Overquill, which I personally really like Overquill. I've been using it in a Natdex Monotype VGC draft, and it's super nice to have. It's Intimidate obviously is always a great ability to have. Um, Lowering the opponent's attacks. Swift Slam is actually pretty good if you, excuse me, pair it with something with Rain Dance. So that's pretty nice. Um, Poison and Dark are pretty good synergy on defensive and offensive. Defensive being weak to only one type in ground, and offensive being able to, um, like Dark being resisted by Fairy, but Poison being super effective, and yeah. Um, Primarina is an amazing Pokemon, one of the best water and fairy types in Reg H, and for in general, like for lower power level formats, amazing Pokemon. Um, Liquid Voice, Hyper Voice, is doing a ton of damage. Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, again, insane damage. Throat Spray can amplify it even more after one Hyper Voice. Life Orb again is great to have. Como Como. So I definitely feel like it's usable. It has Sword Stance. It has Iron Press with Iron Defense and Body Press. Um, it gets 3 definitely good abilities: Bulletproof, Soundproof, and Overcoat. Being able to either be immune to bullet moves, sound moves, or like Spore or Raise Powder. Um, Obviously also gets Clinger of Souls. So giving an Omni boost in return for 1/3 of its HP lost. Gets Drain Punch, Clinging Scales, a spread move. Yeah. There's Trevenant on. Oh wait, what else does? Como gets Taunt, but okay, Trevenant is actually really nice on this team. It gets Natural Cure, Frisk, Harvest, 3 pretty not bad abilities. Harvest and Frisk being the really good ones. But yeah, for 3 points, it is a great steal to take. Able to set up Trick Room. It gets Haze. I forgot to mention. Primarina and Overkill also get Haze. So yeah, but yeah. Trevenant gets Haze, Will-O-Wisp, Trick Room, Imprison. I believe it gets Encore. I could be wrong on that though. I know it gets Destiny Bond. Just moves. Does not get Encore, but does get Disable. Leech Seed, Pain Split, Trick, Ally switch, which can be fun. Forest's curse if you want to do something with that. Which could be kind of cool with like Weavile or something. But yeah, pretty versatile Pokemon, I'd say. Has a lot of options, especially since it's a mixed attacker with 110 attack and 100 special attack. But yeah, I mean no, not that. I was looking at Como. Never mind. No, Trevenant has 110 attack still, which is very nice, and its defenses at 85, 76, and 82 are usable for sure. For the final Pokemon, we have Blaziken. Doesn't look bad by any means. Coaching is nice paired next to Overquill, Como, Trevenant, Weavile, with Speed Boost. I feel like this definitely can be pretty cool. It has Will-O-Wisp as well. Sword Stance if you want to like set up with it. U-turn for pivoting. Knockoff for disruption. Um, you let me. Fire and fighting are a great offensive combo. Um, and I feel like it is being able to do good damage to majority of typings. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what to say about Blaziken. But yeah, pretty good bond. Anyways, so recapping on this team, we not bad. I don't feel like it's great. I don't maybe not even like super good, but like there's Pokemon, but they don't synergize great. I feel just because you spent a lot of money really early on Gothitelle and Mungus, while in my opinion they were some of the worst high tiers you could have gotten. The rest of the draft isn't bad, but you having like your speed tiers are kind of clumped together between 95 and like 98 and 80. Have a lot of them in that range. Oh, I didn't even talk about Haunter. Oh my. Whew, I'm getting tired. Sorry. Haunter gets Haze, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, Trick Room, Knock Off, and Prison. It's actually really good for a not fully evolved Pokemon. 115 special attack and 95 speed are really nice. Eviolite with 45, 45, and 55 might be able to do some bulk, but nothing like crazy, but not a bad Pokemon. Well, it's not that good, but like it could be worse. So, yeah. Anyways, now going for the recap. Weaknesses, dragons. I feel like you're very weak to. Your only resistance or immunity being Primarina. Flying type you're really bad against, as you don't have any resistances, and 4 of your mons are weak. Not to mention like they aren't even like bad mons. They're some of your key core mons. So that's not great for you. You lack redirection outside of Amoonguss, which isn't great. You don't have a ton of pivoting moves, only 2. Unless I'm missing them on the parting shot, but wait, no, I'm pretty sure Overkill and Primarina got flipped. Never mind. It's fine with that then. But yeah, like it's not horrible, but like I wouldn't say it's great either. So I feel like I slot this in at like a C probably. Well, I feel like it's better than the other C team though. So there. So if I can pull this up, I will show you the end results for the thing. Okay, so here we are at the final team rankings. Me and Hemz in S. Draco Meteor and Fanta in A. Magic and Razor in B, and yzui and SKprime in C. So I think that'll definitely shape out to be an interesting season. And yeah, see you guys in another video.